Hello and welcome to episode 21 of A Humanistic Perspective. I am one of your hosts, Chad Castilla, and today I am joined with
Ethan Castilla and our good friend
Neville.
Neville. Thank you for joining us today. I want to jump in right away because I know we don't have all the time in the world, and let's start way at the beginning. I think you have a very beautiful and a very interesting story. Do you want to maybe express or share that?
where you grew up with, how you got started, what was your childhood like, who were your biggest influences, and just go from there. Storyline it.
I wish I had this all put together.
You're fine. It could just be a little secret.
Just off the cusp, yeah.
Well, I'm from Nigeria, and it's been quite a journey. Growing up, I was raised by hand by my grandmother. Because my parents were separated early in life, and so my grandmother started teaching me, how grandmothers raise you, they teach you all the good morals and you must be a good boy kind of thing.
Were you like a rebel child or were you a good boy?
I was in between.
Okay. Okay.
Because I like to have fun, but I also like to impress my grandmother.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of little dodgy stuff behind her back, and But she raised me up in church, and
Awesome.
she actually instilled that culture of going to church and having to know God and have a relationship with God, and so that started pretty early in my life, and somehow that has guided me over the years because that never left me. So,
That's awesome.
in everything I do, no matter how much I play, no matter how much I get involved with life and all that, that faith that was instilled in me still comes out one or the other, because it's all part of my structure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you were, what was school like? Did you go to a private? Did you go to a public school?
Back home in Africa, most people went to public school because, especially during our generation, private school was not the in thing then.
Yeah.
The school system was a bit okay then, because Nigerian educational pattern was structured according to the British system, so we had that kind of upbringing whereby everybody must learn good English, you must learn to speak well, you must, all that stuff. But
Did you, from a young age, like, what was your perception of America? Was it like something that you were like, oh, I need to go there and visit?
oh man, America was like a land of glory to everybody growing up.
Really?
Yeah, it's like where all your hopes and dreams could be.
Right.
How you think about heaven.
Yeah.
A lot of people growing up in Africa then, if you like, I remember when we were growing up, when you see people that travel to America come back home, they were
The
looked
expression.
like gods, man. It's like they went to heaven and came back, and so that's how we appreciated them that much,
Yeah.
growing up like little kids, especially when you see children that were born in America but are Nigerians, when they come back home, always looking neat with all their, they're putting on jeans, putting on canvas, very brand new canvas, and we look at them and be like, wow, when will I be like this?
Super interesting. Did you have
They look
siblings?
like people you see in the movies, like
Sure.
everything you see in the movies, you've seen them putting them on, and you'd be like, wow.
Wow, it's
I wish-
tangible.
I wish I can go to America someday,
Did your siblings you had siblings? You saw your brothers and stuff like that, right?
Sure.
How many siblings did you grow up with?
6. We're 6 in the family, so I have 5 siblings.
Where are you in that age range?
I'm the first, actually.
You're the oldest.
Yes.
Really?
How is that dynamic for you?
Well, actually, growing up, I didn't really grow up with my siblings.
Got it. And was that
Yeah.
due to the split of your parents?
Exactly. Because when my
Was that hard when you were young?
It was very difficult because, when you don't grow up with your father and mother together, the influence of the father is not there.
Yeah, in the male role.
And for me, especially, the influence of my mother wasn't so much there
Mhm.
because who I really knew as my mother was my grandmother.
Right.
You know, and because my mother was very young at that age, she had to fend for herself. She had to, you know, because my mother gave birth to me when she was like 18 years.
Oh.
You know, so she had to start life all over again after me. She, you know, and she was in school, so she got remarried and started a new family.
Do you speak with her now? Or?
Oh yeah, we love each other. I can't do without my mother now because
That's awesome.
growing up and how I grew up and everything, I began to appreciate the.
Was there like a moment in time where you had to maybe come to terms or be like, you know, I have recognized that this happened, but it wasn't necessarily my fault. It wasn't her fault, or there's
Right.
no bad feeling. Like, was
Right.
there like a moment where you had to transition that in your head?
That transition actually came when I became a full adult. Like
Got
I left
Much
school
later.
Much later in life, like I finished university and
Just
everything.
like the hormones and everything else, all the
Right.
other lessons you had to learn
Right.
before it.
Right. Like
Yeah.
growing up, I just didn't understand why they were not together.
Sure.
I was blaming everybody for it, you know. But
Who were
Especially-
the role models and figures in your
Oh.
life other than because you had your grandma?
Right.
But I'm sure like who were males you were looking up to?
Oh,
or, like, what did you have? At
I
that
had this uncle who was a Supreme Court judge.
time? Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he was like my father. You know, I saw him. He was the father figure I knew because at some point I started living with him. You know, so all the exposure I had in life was from him. You know, like he made sure I was in school. He made sure I studied law when I was in Nigeria. He made sure, you know, he took me to all the high places I knew. You know,
So was he networking you with high officials when you were
he
young?
wasn't doing it deliberately.
Sure.
But
You
it
know.
made you realize and see
Yes,
that you
but
could.
living with him, you know, I had
What
that
age were you when
influence.
you started living with him?
I started living with him when I was like 10 years old.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so I grew up in his house.
Yeah,
You know, so when the
truly.
governors would come to the house.
Yeah.
and
So
all
was
that-
he? I guess like he was on the Supreme Court? You said.
Yes, he was.
So he was a
Supreme Court.
high
Yes, like,
official.
You know, exactly.
He was of esteemed honor.
Right. In fact, when I started living with him, he was like a high court judge at that time.
Wow.
Then over the years, he grew to a federal court judge
Holy cow.
before they finally made him a Supreme Court judge. So we will go to the best hotels,
Wow.
we'll go to government houses.
And
Well,
did
yeah.
you think at the time like, wow, I'm really blessed to be in this situation, or were you
I-
just like, I'm just hanging out with my uncle?
Exactly. That's how it was for me. Like it came so naturally, you know, like
Sure.
and I started even seeing myself like I'm a rich kid, you know, because
You were
I
holding
was
yourself up.
yeah, I wasn't treated differently. I was treated like part of the house, you know.
Sure.
So that made me. I was always feeling like, oh, because with him, I learned to comport myself, speak well, do things right, go to school, hang out with the right people, and all that. So
Became a gentleman.
yeah, you know, more like it.
Yeah.
So indirectly, that was forming my personality, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that really made me.
And
it's
did
part
you
of-
stay in his house through high school?
Exactly, I did. Throughout high school, it was actually
Where
yeah.
in high school, like going up, where did your passions lie? Did you have a job? Did you work, or did
No.
you?
What was your dream in high school?
No.
Did
What
you
was Neville
at that
gonna be?
point?
Well, in high school, I wanted to be the best lawyer because my uncle was one.
And you went to law school, right?
Yes.
How many years was that in Nigeria?
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you go to law school for 1 year, that's 6 years. You know, because when you graduate from the school,
Yeah.
the university, you got to go to what they call Nigerian law school.
And was there a specific like law that you specialized in?
Well, no,
Or not
because-
really?
Is
Yeah,
it general in Nigeria?
yes, you
Okay.
got to study all the laws,
Okay.
you know, growing up. But when I came out as a lawyer, I just realized that this was not what I want to do.
Mm.
You know, that I was just doing it.
How
because
old
of
were
my
you at
uncle.
this point?
I was like 24,
Okay.
Wow.
you know.
And,
Did
and
you
I
feel-
think people,
did you
that's not
feel-
like a bad thing. You know,
Yeah.
like I think
Yeah.
you could still like not know what you're doing even when you're
Yeah.
50 and redo your whole
Yeah.
life. You know.
You know.
Like,
I realized that early, you know.
Yeah.
Like I realized that I wasn't. it wasn't really my passion, you know. I just figured that I was just doing this because my uncle was, you know.
It made him happy and
It made
proud
him
of
very-
you, and that
exactly.
probably made you feel
Yes.
very good.
Yes.
Do you still
but-
talk to? Is your uncle still here today?
No, he's dead now.
Okay.
You know, it's been
Sorry
a long
for your
time.
loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thank God I studied law.
Yeah. I was gonna say, are you grateful for that time?
Yeah,
though?
yeah. You know, realizing it now, I thank God I passed through that experience.
You went to law school, which means you probably had to write a lot.
Yes.
Which means that probably helped you with your script writing.
Well, see, just knowing Neville, like on the background, like the stories he has, and like the mood, which he'll get into probably, hopefully. But then you start to develop.
Were
like,
you
after
doing
law
arts
school-
too? Like, was that some of your
Yes.
hobbies on the side while you were
Like,
young?
Yeah,
Where
like
did that feel?
while we were in university, you know, I joined this fellowship group, a church fellowship that,
Okay.
you know, at some point they wanted a drama group inside the fellowship. And I've always had passion for writing poems, you know, writing script on my own, reading a lot of novels, watching movies and stuff. And I said, I can do this stuff. So we started training. I had a friend then, his name is Coyote. We started training ourselves while studying law on how to write scripts, how to even, you know, so we started paying more attention to drama, to watching movies, to really figuring out how this is done, you know. So I trained myself how to write a script while studying law in the university. So we started a drama group in the university.
See, you were using every second you had though to your advantage.
Yeah.
Did you
Do
say
it-
you had fun too? Like even now, like to the point of where do you think like you've enjoyed every experience you've had?
Yes, I would say that because my life has got many parts to it. You know, I've dabbled into so many things growing up. So I feel like my life was part of fun. You know, there was a lot of fun doing, you know, like you're young, you just want to test so many things. And
It's
so I
almost
got
that
into a lot
idea
of
of
stuff.
being a learner forever
Ever.
is the job. That is
Yeah.
the best
As
part.
a matter of fact, that's why when I came into this country, I knew I couldn't practice law immediately.
Right.
And I said to myself, what is it that I can't really do? You know, so, and of course, once you come into this country, especially Nigerians or Africans, one of the fastest way to get out of that poverty line, you know, or to get a step, you know, higher from doing manual jobs is to
Right.
get into nursing school. And
Is that something that's like? So I want to go back a little bit to the mentality. Is
Right.
it? Are Nigerians when they're young? Are they built to be entrepreneurs and hustlers? Like, are their parents like that? Is it
Go
culture
through,
like
walk
that?
us through, like
Like,
you know, like I want
In
to
the
know.
U.S., people
Correct.
waste their kids waste their time with
Just
technology
explain,
and
like
stuff.
maybe even just touch into like your whole thing of like your film career
right.
and like how you networked. Like
Right.
I think that Chad probably hasn't heard
That part.
anything about
I,
that. and I
was
think
this
that
at
would
24? Did you leave and come to America then?
No.
no. So tell him.
Okay.
So to go
Yeah.
go through
Let's
that
keep
whole
going.
period of like.
I'm kind of getting the picture. I guess.
Right. You're naturally born a hustler once
Yes.
you're born into a Nigerian, let me say, Nigerian family.
Got it.
You know, because the situation in the country develops your skill naturally to
Mhm.
be open your mind to opportunities.
Sure.
Because the situation is so hard and difficult that everybody's looking for a breakthrough, one way or the other. There's no structure to guide you through a breakthrough. You just have to look into yourself and see what you can bring out to help yourself get out of your situation.
Wow.
You know, so it becomes a natural instinct in almost everybody growing up.
That's super unique.
Yeah, so because nobody's there to spoon feed you,
No.
except you come from a well-to-do family, which many are not from. So you just have to find a way to survive.
Truly.
You know, a lot of people did, like while I was in school, I did a lot of stuff just to survive. I was practically paying for my school fees while in school.
Wow.
How was I doing that as a 21, 22, 23-year-old? I had to develop certain skills for myself. Like for instance, I said, when I noticed that I could make drama and people could come and watch, we cashed into that, my friends and I we started making plays and dramas in school. and it will be sold out. A lot of people will come to watch our plays. We started organizing shows.
You saw an opening.
Yeah, I became a rich boy in school. So with all that money I was making at that time, I was able to live comfortably.
Where you're like, why the hell am I going to school right now?
Exactly, you know, like I was living, you know, in the best area in the school campus and all that, where the rich boys live, because I could afford it.
Right.
You know, so I sold clothes. I did a lot of stuff. You know, like how boys sell shoes and and all that. You know, we were selling clothes. I would go to the market, get clothes for like, okay, 1,000 naira.
Mm-hmm. Which is comparative to US dollar. What's like a naira to like a dollar?
Yeah, that's like $10.
Okay.
You know.
And then what would you upcharge?
You get it for like $10 and sell it for like $30. And
damn, that's a good margin.
Yeah, they will be happy they bought it from you, because by the time you explain how authentic the clothes are, you know, these American spec and all that stuff, you know, you just have to sell yourself through. Yeah, so we were making money. I was making a lot of money in school, you know, so that's why I felt, am I really called to be a lawyer? You know, I just discovered that filmmaking at that time was my passion. And guess what? Let me tell you how my filmmaking experience started.
Yeah, let's go there. You're 24.
Yeah, I had finished school. I just came out fresh from school.
Yeah, you're like, what
I
the
had,
hell?
I had the first son of my uncle, you know, the Supreme Court judge, was a musician. His name is Charlie Boy. And I said to myself, if a Supreme Court judge's son could be a musician and he's making it, why can't I follow my passion and make it? So I would, instead of going to court, I would go to his studio to hang out.
Nice.
To, you know, and he'd be like, what are you doing there? I said, Uncle, just let me be. I like to be around you and see what's going on. And that was when one day, I think that was fresh out of school, I'd written a script, a film script.
About what?
I actually wrote it based on some of the experiences I had in the village growing up.
Wow.
You know, some of the medical stories that were told, you know, and all that. I put it all together, and some stories about my village itself. So I put it all together, because the best way to tell stories is to tell what you know and what you've heard and what, you know, growing up and your experiences. They make the best stories, you know. So I put all that together, and watching Nigerian movies, I'll be like, I'll watch the director's name, watch the producer's name. You know, like when the movie has ended.
Oh yeah.
I'll keep watching. I'll see
That's
all
when
the
it's
names.
really starting to
Right. I'll keep looking at all the names, who did what, you know. I will use my pen and write all that down. So it got to a point.
This is some Gary Vee shit right here. This is what literally, kids who are graduating right now are like, what do I need to do to get a job?
I think people just don't like again, who pays attention to the craft?
Right.
So there's no technology. There's minimal technology at this point, right?
Right.
You don't have cell phones. You don't
Nothing.
have shit.
Nothing.
So you're writing it down on
I just wrote everything down. I wrote the executive producer's name down, the marketer's name down. So I said to myself, I have a script.
How do you find them?
How do I find this guy?
Oh yeah, this
So I
is cool.
started
Yeah,
researching.
yellow books. Do you have that?
No. None of those. So I started asking questions.
Did they live in the major cities or something?
Yeah, so I found out the name of the marketer, because when they put the name of the marketer, they put the address of the marketer.
Oh, really
in Nigeria.
interesting.
Yeah, so what I did was one day with my script in my bag, I paid my way through. I went to the marketer's office and said, I want to see so and so man. And they told me, do you have an appointment? I said, no, but I have something for him. You know, it'd be like, if you don't have an appointment, then I said, I'll wait as long as it takes to see him. So
You didn't give up. You
I
didn't take
give
no
up,
for an answer.
no. So I stayed there. And at some point, I think they let me in or something. So when I met the man, I said, sir, I don't want anything from you. Just read my script. Please, just read my script. If you don't like it, it's okay. But if you like it, man said, they had to make me wait the first day. And he gave the script.
Did he ask you who you were? Was he like?
He was like.
Did you tell him I'm in law school?
Yes,
Like,
I gave him my whole story. I'm like, so that
did
you
he?
know, interest him a little bit that
Right.
somebody could go through all that, you're a lawyer, you're not, you
You're
know,
not passionate. This
why, you
is
know, so that,
it's
so,
it's fun for a marketer to see
right.
an ambitious person.
So he gave the script to his producer and told him to read it and give him a feedback. You know, so when the producer read my script, he said, "Wow, that did not seem a script like this for a while." So they now called me back. When I came in, they said, "Did you write the script or somebody wrote it for you?" I said, "No, I took like almost 7 months writing the script." He said, "Are you sure you're the owner of the script?" I said, "Yes, I am, sir." He said, "No, why we're saying this is because we don't want anybody to come up and say, 'Are you sure?'" I said, "Yes, I am. I can tell you
Every
every
line.
scene, every chapter." That's when, so they now
You're
set up,
24.
yes, they now set up a meeting for me the next day.
Right, but see, you had to drive a little bit to get to this place. So then, right, like you were just
You
going
made
there.
sacrifices to
So
get there.
so then what happened? They put you in a hotel, right?
Yes,
If I
they
remember
put me.
correctly.
Yes, they put
They
me in a
literally put-
hotel.
yeah.
You're in Nigeria for this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
You're in
After
a
they
major city now in Nigeria.
So they told me the man paid for a hotel for me and said that stay here for the next 3 days until we finish everything about the script. So after the producer had read the script, they now sent the script to the whole crew, to the wardrobe, all the people that.
Wow.
So they now called me back the next day. We had a meeting.
Wait, I want to. When you're at home in bed that night in the hotel, what is going through your head? How the hell are you processing?
Like, how did I get here? Although I've played out this thing so many
Did you
times
just
in my
keep
head.
believing in yourself?
Yes.
Like it was, it felt like it was real. Like you were
Right.
gonna do it. Like
And
nothing.
I didn't even believe that they were gonna like it
Mm.
at first reading, but I wasn't gonna give up. I said even if they don't like it, I'm gonna try someone else, try. But I was lucky that the first person I met liked it. So
Wow.
so they put me in a hotel. I came back the
You can't
next
tell me
day.
that's not fate. You like fate. in a real way.
Fate got a lot to do with it. I
You
think.
know.
So when I came into the man's office, I saw like about 7, 8 people in a round table waiting for me. I'm like, whoa, is this for real?
You're in your
Like,
first
Dressed
exec
up,
meeting.
or were you,
Yeah.
Were you dressed up nicely?
Did you have a
yeah,
suit
of
and
course.
tie?
I'm the lawyer, man. I
Yeah,
know all the
you
streets
can't
and everything. So they all sat down around it and they were throwing arrows at me, man. They wanted to make sure that I was the real owner of the script. So the producer, the production manager, they were
Trying to catch you up.
yeah, why did you write this in this scene? What were you
Trying to understand the psychology of it.
I would tell them the whole thing from my heart, because it came from inside me,
Yeah.
So that was where the man was so amazed. That's when they actually believed that this was my story, because the way I was telling it and explaining it, in fact, explaining the culture of my people, because they are not used to my people's culture, But I will explain it so
Was it just
clearly.
not the mainstream culture, like the culture that came from your
Yeah,
village?
indigenous culture of my own particular clan and village, So when they finished, the man was so impressed with me. So he said, "We're gonna make this film." And at that time, films were made for like #1 million, #2 million. But because it was a big budget film at that time, this film was made for like 5.5 million naira.
So we're talking like $500,000, $600,000, right?
I don't know the equivalents right now.
I was just assuming.
But
the
then
$10
this was
$10
like this was like 15 years back.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of money.
while.
That no, yeah, based on
Right.
inflationary price. That's
Right.
probably
Right now they're
at
like
least
$5
a-
million.
Yeah,
Right.
they're like doing like
Right.
a $5 to $6 million
Right.
indie film in the
Right,
U.S.
right.
Yeah,
So
that's huge.
it was a wonderful experience for me.
Did you
That's-
premiere it? Did you get a big premiere for the movie?
Oh yeah, we premiered in different cities. Even in my village, because it was about my culture and everything. We premiered it in my village, and that was
How was that
an explosion.
experience?
Oh man, I felt like
Did you like cry or like was it overwhelming?
it was my closest shot to Hollywood, man.
Yeah.
So I became famous overnight. Like this little boy from little village,
Yeah.
doing big stuff and all that. It was a wonderful experience.
So
that
did you
really-
capitalize on it?
Oh,
What
yeah,
Did you
that's-
do right after?
Oh yeah, I said from there, I started training myself as a production manager,
Nice.
a from there, I
Were you on
progressed with-
set during the filming
Oh,
and all
yeah.
of it? They
I
didn't.
was- I
they
was-
didn't cut you out. They didn't do that
No,
BS
I was-
exact move.
Because I don't have any experience at that time. They gave me a production coordinator and script supervisor at that time.
Got it.
You know, because it was my script, and when they want to ask certain questions about certain scenes, I
They
have
need
to
a key
come.
into you. Yeah.
Yes, you know, but the director, the producers, they were all there. So I was there with them throughout the shoot. You know, right after that, because of, you know, my knowledge of law and everything, I started as a production manager, you know, helping them organize, do other stuff. From there, I became a producer. I was a producer over the years under the same guy.
Did you? How many projects did you produce?
I did more than 50 films.
Crap. How
Yeah.
many years?
Okay, and then
Yeah.
even
How many
from there-
years were you there producing with them? From 24 to.
Yeah, I was in the industry for over 15 years before I came to America.
How long did you come
24 to
America?
like 30?
I've been
Wow.
here for like 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
So like he lived like it's basically like you lived a whole life in Nigeria.
of course I did.
And then came. Now you went to
So-
there's so
so-
much to get into.
Holy
But he's lived a lot to be honest. What about the school? Now, if I'm right, did
What
you
was your favorite project of the 50 projects?
Um,
Other than yours. Other than yours.
uh,
How many films after that did you write and produce there?
I can't even count it. I don't even remember. Sometimes they play my movie, I'm like, oh, that's my movie. I'm like, you know.
What is it like to be a producer?
Big-
What are you doing? What's your
Oh my God. In fact, I wake up every day still want to be a producer. It was, you know, like filmmaking comes so natural with me that if you catch me, that's one thing I want to be caught there doing. You know, like it has become so much of my passion that no matter whatever I do, I still want to be a filmmaker. You know, like that's what I love doing. You know, because I come alive when I'm on set. You know, all my elements,
It's instinctual.
yes, comes to being. Like I say, you know, because when I started developing my skills, especially as a director, I can see what many people can't
Was your
see.
was your uncle upset now at this point that you
They
didn't
were
finish
terrible.
law? He's like, why are
That-
you going into the
In
arts?
fact, as a matter of fact, when he just looked at me like, this boy wasted his life. Like,
You're
Yeah.
so bright. You had so
you
much.
know, because he said you're so brilliant. You could be one of the best lawyers in this
in all
country.
of Nigeria, yeah.
I said, but that's not what
That's
I.
not
That's not what I want to do. You know.
Right.
He was so disappointed in me that he brought me up this far just to leave him by the wayside and go into filmmaking. Because filmmaking wasn't a trendy thing then, you know.
Sure.
It was something that dropouts do, and you know,
Yeah.
that's the way to look. Because in Nigeria, you must be either an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor. You know, any of
Right.
those. So if you say you're coming in with filmmaking, really, you want to be a laborer, you want to be,
Yeah.
you know, you want to suffer the rest of your life,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
So they don't look at it as, but right now it's the in thing. It's what people, you know. I mean,
Right.
Now being an artist.
yeah,
is-
you know.
is huge.
So it's amazing. Yeah, it's been a wonderful journey so far.
Did you? Now you
Wow.
went to school. Did you go to school out in LA for film? maybe?
Yes, at some point, this was I think in 2015 thereabout. You know, the president then, you know, decided to pick the young filmmakers that are very good in the trade and train them. You know, open up new opportunities because they started seeing that the industry was booming in the country and we're generating a lot of income for
Nice.
the country at that time, you know, because when you look at the margins and the
How
numbers.
famous were you at? Like, are we talking like you were a superstar or just people
Well,
knew you?
well, I
Like,
like
would
to
we be
remain
like,
humble
okay,
about
so-
that because
Sure.
there were a lot of filmmakers.
I guess, like, if you went back now, would you
Right.
still have the same reputation?
Yes, because you know we've sowed our seed in the industry, you know,
Sure.
and of course we've paid our price and we've built up networks over the years. So that doesn't just die off like
Right,
that. You
yeah.
know, you still can latch on
Leverage
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I can't say I'm a superstar because there are bigger filmmakers too in
Sure.
the country. But at least if you mention my name, somebody will say, "Oh, I know him." You know?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's really, really cool.
So in 2015, the president sent us to UCLA. There about
The
3,000.
president of Nigeria?
Yeah. About,
Why?
No, because they
Because
were
he
trying
was getting
to.
bigger.
Yeah, the industry was getting bigger. It was becoming a thing.
So it was like
in the country
his
at the time.
concept is for economic boom in my country, I'm going
Right.
to use an exchange program to try and
Right.
further the best in our
Right,
industry.
right. To
Got
see how we can help that industry grow.
It's like
better.
NASA sending astronauts to Russia to learn.
Exactly. That's what it is. You know.
Yeah.
So they made us compete for it. So about 3,000 filmmakers sent an application at that time,
Holy
and
cow.
they picked like 25 people.
Wow.
You know, so I was lucky to be one of them. So they sent us to UCLA, all expense paid.
How many years?
No, it was a master program. You know, so they
Wow.
condensed what we could have learned in a year into like 3-4 months.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we were studying Monday to Sunday every day.
Were you staying in a dorm?
Yeah, they opened up the school for us because at that time students were not in school.
Yeah.
So
It was summer probably.
yeah, so they used that, you know, to, and we had the best of the best because they were well
Yeah,
paid.
UCLA film is like
Yeah, and especially
that's
in
notorious in
2015.
Yeah.
the US.
Like on a subject, you can have like 3 professors coming to teach on it because they were well paid for it. The government, Nigerian government, paid them well for it. You know, so you have.
So they were happy to teach you guys.
Oh yeah.
Because you guys probably were ready to soak it up like a sponge.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
like they were actually excited to teach.
Oh
you.
yeah. And we soaked up a lot because, like when we did.
Do you think you learned more there than you
Oh,
did throughout law school?
That was why I decided to come and relocate to the United
US.
States. After that experience, I started
Wow.
seeing myself growing above the filmmaking standard that we are used to in Nigeria, you know, and improving on it. And, you know, I'm still in that process because I believe that right after this whole experience I'm having right now, that's the next level for me to, you know, start making those kind of films that will be of international standard,
Right.
that, you know, will be universally accepted, you know. So
That's awesome.
that's
Do you
my
have-
goal.
So do you have tons of stories in your head or like scripts
Oh,
that you
stories come naturally to me, you know,
Yeah.
like for this past few years, about 4 or 5 stories have been developed already. So all I do
Wow.
is I call my script writers, start doing this. Like my script writer right now back home in Nigeria is working on a story that came to me like 2 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about that story you told me? I don't remember. The one you told me are you still doing the one?
Oh sure, I'll definitely do that film.
Yeah.
You know.
So my question is
I'm
like
sure it's the story about the pastor that married her.
Yes, yeah.
that's so what is your plan? Like how are you gonna like do you think you can use your skills and your network back home to help build it out and then find an American
Well, and that's just
company
even
that would
giving
help
them-
sell it out and produce it out?
Yeah, that's
Like,
that's
Are you
the
gonna
whole
finish the
idea.
projects internally and then sell it to a third party, you think?
Well,
Or do you want to try and sell the idea to a company?
no.
Or do you want to do it all?
No. It's still gonna be a collaboration in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the time we start, you know, because I've done it over the years, so I know
Sure.
how it's done. You know, there's a way you network investors. And you just have to have a very good proposal, and you have to have good content as well, and you have to have the right people doing the project.
And now it's got to go to streaming,
Yeah,
right?
on-
Movies are
once your investors look at your proposal and they see that you have the right content, you have the right filmmaking crew, you have the right actors in it,
the
you
right
know,
notoriety.
yeah, and because they also know you have experience, you've done this over time,
Right.
you know,
You're an acclaimed
yeah,
director.
and there are certain people you go to for such funds, and of course when they look at your numbers and everything and it matches, they'll be willing to invest, you know, because there are people
Are you
who
looking
want
for an
to.
American or a Nigerian investor?
Because I'm coming from Nigeria,
Yeah.
you know, so most of my investors should be from Nigeria.
Sure.
Because I don't know American.
Right, you have those
investors
connections
right
back.
now. Yeah, but of
exactly.
course, if we find any here, why not?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, how was it being an adult and then migrating to America? How is that experience?
Well-
Was it like when you first got here? Like when you first got off? Well, maybe you've been here before, visited, but like
Right.
when you finally moved here yourself, were you
Right, you know, before I decided to relocate, I wanted to know the country and the system and how it works and everything. So I've been visiting for like 7 years
Wow.
before I finally decided.
All over the U.S. to see where's the
Yeah,
best for you.
I was usually hanging out in LA then, you know, because I have some relations over there, you know.
Sure.
So,
What
but
made
it
you
wasn't like that feeling growing up anymore, you know.
What are
It
you
wasn't-
thinking of LA now? Do you think that's going to the wayside?
Say that again.
Do you think LA is going to the wayside now?
Well, I still have some kind of thing for LA, you know, because that's where the film industry is. That's where my relations are, you know, and they have very good weather, you know. So I like.
Yeah, why'd you pick Chicago? Why'd you end up out this way?
Well,
It's cold here.
Yeah, you know, because getting here, I got married, and though it didn't work out, so the lady I married was in Chicago, you know.
Got it.
So I had to give up the LA that I'm used to and said, you know, let's start it here in Chicago. And so that's how I ended up in Chicago. But
Do you miss Nigeria?
I miss Nigerian energy. I don't miss everything about Nigeria.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where are they at? What's the climate like there right now?
Oh my
Politically, is it
It's
is it a
always
safe
hot.
time to be there? What's going
Like,
on?
could I just walk in there and be fine? Well, you were even telling me, like, even if just understanding how the government works, right?
Right.
Like businesses. It's
Right.
like, well, you could just, you know, like, if we went there, you'd be eaten up because they were just investing.
Yeah.
But, like, as far as, like, there, it's very much where the government controls the business and politics, right?
Right.
Like you told me,
Right.
like, right?
Interesting.
Along the lines of, how does government have a role on businesses? You told me that, like, in
Right.
Nigeria, it's like something where, like, someone, like, the government can just go and claim your business or tell you, right?
Really?
Right.
Not claim your
necessarily-
business,
yeah,
but like force you to.
yeah, they have
They have final say.
strange policies. They can come up with any policy at any time.
Really?
You know, you might be doing well today, and
Did you
government comes
believe
up
they had
with-
a good legal system? Like while you were a lawyer, did you?
Well, it's not something you can compare with what's going on here. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, you guys have a structure, and one thing, although there is still, you know, corruption in this country and everything, but it's not at the level it is in Nigeria. You know, it's way different, of course.
Is there a lot of poverty in Nigeria?
Well,
Is it, or how is the wealth spread out? Is it?
we have the rich and the poor. We don't have middle class.
Got it.
You know, so
Got
it's either
How, is it hard? Is there a hard barrier to break that gap from the poor to the
Could-
wealthy?
it is.
It is.
It
Okay.
is. It is.
So if you, it's sort of like
Wherever you're
wherever
born,
you're born in is
Right.
it really matters.
Right.
and you got to live with your uncle at a young age
Right.
that brought that class that was different.
Right. You know, so
Wow.
it's either you find your breakthrough from poverty and maybe you're lucky, you know, you get into something that
Athletics or
yeah, you know, that helps you out, music or anything, business. You know,
Sure,
that's
whatever.
what.
just a passion, you
Right.
know, something.
But it's not like we have a system that helps you through. You know, there's no structure there. Like the government policies and all that are not built in such a way that you know young people can leverage on the system and you know make their lives better. No, we
Sure.
don't have that kind of structure. You know, you just have to hustle it all out.
So do you think people in America just don't really tend to realize how good we have it here? all the time?
Honestly, because that's why most Nigerians here do well because
They're just
when-
so blessed.
yes, they you know somebody who never had opportunity and you give him the slightest opportunity, he'll make the best out of it. He appreciates opportunity.
You come here and there's
Yeah.
so much
Yeah,
opportunity.
But when you're born in opportunity and you've never seen
None.
poverty, you've never really seen how difficult a system could be on, or you know, you don't appreciate what you have. You know? So that's the difference. You know, so but I know that most Americans, you guys are very smart too. If you're thrown into a kind of situation and you understand, you know, the difficulty, you know, how to live life
Yes.
amidst difficulties, I'm sure that will also prepare you to become a better person.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. I think
yeah.
that's a universal lesson.
Yes,
that
it's
as
a
humans,
universal lesson. Yes,
it's
because
just like
humans, we are
struggle is what grows us.
right,
It's what empowers us. I
Right.
feel like.
absolutely. You know, like if you've known poverty all your life, when you see an opportunity, you appreciate it, no matter how
Totally.
little.
And that's something too, like when we were young, like we were always told every opportunity, take
Yes,
it.
take it.
Never say no.
Right.
Because you don't know.
Right.
And like for you, if you had never gone to law school,
Right.
who knows if you would have ended up going down to the city and showing them the script.
I
And
think
doing
it is all about just
Right.
taking those opportunities, leaps of faith. Like
Right.
I like even just thinking like when I started my swimming career in a sense, I was just walking through a YMCA and like I want to swim, and then my parents just let me do it, and they did,
Right.
you know, and then it just started. It's just like seeing something and then taking it. You know, you shouldn't get overwhelmed in the sense of all these things because no, you're not gonna be able to
Right.
accomplish everything. There's gonna be so many ideas. There's, you know, even businesses along the way where it's like, yeah, I could have done that, and of course I probably could have found a way to make it successful, but no, I chose this path, and it's like appreciate what you have now,
Exactly.
appreciate in the moment, and I think those are just things you forget about. You know, like for me, even growing, like just starting to realize this stuff now allows me to like.
No, like I'm so grateful even to have the opportunity. Like, just like we were talking about before we even started, we as young people right now can build a whole production setup, and it can be housed in a little Volkswagen car.
True.
And like before this, analog, you were carrying around all this heavy equipment. You
True.
needed men on men to carry
You know what?
it all.
You will never appreciate believing until believing is all you got.
That's powerful.
And I say, my message, my thing, like I said, was always believe, and it will be.
Yes.
Like I just like from me and my mom, we've had like my swimming career. It was just whatever it was, I just set anything in my mind, and if you could believe it, and
Right.
believe you are capable of doing that.
You know,
it'll
in
happen.
Nigeria, you're pressed so hard against the wall by the system and the structure
Adversity.
that all you got is believe. So that's why we appreciate believing in ourselves so much.
I love that.
You know, because you're
That
so
trait.
pressed that you don't know how to get out, except you believe that that's all I have. That's all I can do. That's the only weapon I have to use.
Sure.
That's why children in this country, I wish, there could be an exchange.
like a kind of like a boot camp or something.
Yeah,
To
and
like-
maybe they could mix up with some of these African kids and understand how their mindset works and why they do what they do and how they do it.
And I think that's just being cultured too.
Right.
Like again, it's being so immature. Like even thinking of my age and like not understanding where these differences in people have come. Right.
Right.
Like there's so little I know about just even you alone, but it opened my eyes just hearing the different stories. Like that opened my eyes to grow up.
Right.
Yeah, you can experience culture through either.
And that's just
yourself
understanding
or
a very
others.
little
Right.
bit of it. You know, so it's like if you were to fully develop, it's like just soak in all you can. You know.
Like when they say that people, like during this COVID time, they say, oh, a lot of people are going through mental pressure and all that. And Nigerian will look at you and be like, really? COVID is giving you mental pressures? Like people are losing their minds over COVID? Come to Nigeria.
Yeah. Right.
Come to Nigeria when every day of your life is like having
Losing
COVID.
your mind. Yeah.
Every day of your life is struggle. You
It's
deal
so
with
powerful,
right?
mental pressure every day of your life. So
Is there like war leaders or gangs or do you guys
We-
have something like
well, of course, it is everywhere you go.
Yeah.
There are always people who feel they should control others and stuff like that.
that?
Like
Yeah.
we have this Muslim sect called Boko Haram back home in Nigeria. They're always terrorizing people and doing all kind of shit over there. And of course, we have youth gangs and
Are women? What's the male and female?
Are there roles?
Yeah, the
Like
roles
regarding
and the-
general culture.
Are women respected? Are they treated fairly?
well,
Is that something
to
that's,
some
that's
extent,
come as they become more
Well, like, when you
technology
think of, like, the
centralized?
class-
but it's not like it is here. Like women got more say here than back home in Nigeria. Because of the culture, actually.
Right.
But everybody know their place.
Sure.
Know their duties. It's over here that a woman may feel, oh, I don't want to cook today, or I I don't know. You know, like
Right.
Do you think?
it comes natural. Women over there in Nigeria, you are meant to cook. You are meant to. It's not like
And it's not
forced on you.
insulting.
No, it's not
Do
insulting.
you think it's like
Sure.
one of the
it's
biggest
like
things?
a motherly instinct in you to do the natural
Yeah, it's
things
like-
that take care of home and all that. It's only here that you can see a woman who doesn't want to take care
And
of
it's
home.
interesting
and
because
Is it? Do you think this relates to like looking at like maybe we make bigger deals about things that don't need to be made bigger deals about, and instead like oh, with this is for me even just listening, right?
right.
And what are the words that are coming out of my mouth? Is it negatively or is it positively appreciating the moment I'm in, right? So like that relationships inside the culture, is it more we just put this shade around it to make it like having those places and responsibilities may not be bad. I think it's just how we verbalize it and
Right.
explain it maybe. I don't know what I'm trying to get there, but it's more of like just thinking like the way if I were to say certain words to have a negative impact, right, that's different rather than like appreciating thank you for what you're doing and just it being a common courtesy knowing like hey thank you, yes that is your role, that's all, you know.
Right.
Maybe I'm not saying there has to be like select roles in what you do, but like
Right.
maybe we just overdo all that, like you know, like when people like when there's right people talking about like you know women rights and men right, like some of that sure, but like there's a point of like are we just making a bigger deal out of something that's not there, and maybe I'm offending people so I don't want to say that because I can be very harsh, but like I'm thinking that in my head right now. Would that make sense at all or no?
Yeah, you know, like if you should relate it to where I'm coming from, you know, women are being appreciated over there, no doubt, but they know it comes natural to them because how they were brought up, you know, they fit into certain roles naturally.
right, it's almost like it's the culture and the social constructs of the society that's built there, on top of the biological conceptions of how the people are born, meld to build this naturalized human instinct of it.
Yes.
And that's why, and I think that's too where like,
That's the way
as
you
an
put it.
American listening to this, you really, really need to be able to take yourself you need to like close your eyes, take yourself out of your shoes,
Just not think
and
of
realize that perspective is so real.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And, yeah.
Even just with our interview last night with Kuye, or you know, a few nights back for pre-recording this episode, but understanding perspective, right? So now we think of perspective just in the U.S. alone. Then we think of the perspectives of just inside our family household. Like, there's so many perspectives in which then I think we overreact on so many situations that's not needed. And you have to understand there are so many perspectives. So, and I think that's what, like, once you start to just kind of realize this, and this is getting older, it's like, you just have to be appreciate, you know, like, I don't know.
Like, for instance, there are certain things that Americans frown about, you know, like, somebody says something to you and you get upset about. And Nigerian will look at you like, why are you getting upset about that?
See, and that's me. I live in that life. Like,
I
every day
like
I
those
just say it. And like if someone doesn't respond to me in that moment off a comment I said, they're fine. There's nothing they disagree
like for
with.
instance, if you call a black American the N-word,
Yes.
he gets terribly offended, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you call an African the N-word, he looks at you like, so? Because he doesn't have the experience.
He doesn't.
He never had the black American experience of what, you know, the history of all that came with it. You know what I mean? So that perspective is different.
Yeah.
You know, so he doesn't feel the pain and the pressure and all that a black American will feel.
I wanted to actually ask you about this. So I've heard that sometimes, like, you know, like, it's the same thing too with, like, I noticed with Hispanic cultures. Like, every Hispanic culture and where they are in their region thinks something else of the other ones.
Yes.
Is that contemplation there between American black people and then African black people?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, sometimes it looks like it takes a lot for a black American and an African to relate very well because their experiences are not the same. You as a white guy might look at them and say, oh, these are black people. But in between the black American and the black African, because their cultures are also different, they don't really see them, they don't enjoy the brotherhood that they should if it were a black American and a black American.
Right.
Some Africans see black Americans
This is so
as-
interesting.
they see them as they're very proud and very arrogant, you know. And the black Americans see the Africans like, you guys are a bit dumb, you know, like you're not smart enough.
Like
you know?
like they
You
sort
know?
of like almost like a third world.
Right, like, your culture and everything made you a little bit slow, you know what I mean?
Sure, like you're
Yeah,
behind.
you
Like
know,
you,
yeah,
like
you're
you're in
not catching up
1990 and we're in 2000.
Right, so that's why
Interesting.
That's
the
why
dichotomy.
sometimes it looks like the African man wants to prove himself that he's smart enough, that he's smarter than
So
you
he'll try and
think.
compensate.
Exactly. So in
These are
education,
interesting
wherever he
dynamics.
finds himself, he's trying to prove a point that I'm as smart as you are,
Right.
even though you think I'm not.
Sure.
So that becomes a kind of motivation for them as well,
Interesting.
living in this country,
That's
because they're
super
trying to
cool.
compensate for that perception you have about them.
Sure.
Because really, the truth of the matter is, if you put everybody at the same level, give
Yes.
them the same level of education, level of opportunity, you see that almost everybody is the same. Like
Yep.
the smart ones, it's not a function of where you're coming from. If you're smart, you're smart. Like it comes natural. Some people will understand it. It doesn't matter your culture. It doesn't just because you have the same level of opportunities. You can still pick out the smart one from the white folk, from the black, from the Hispanic, from whatever
100%.
culture, Asian, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
I agree.
it has nothing to do with where you're coming from. Because you still have a lot of dumb people who are whites, black
Truly.
or Asians,
Yeah.
But so
And that's like the one thing too with like this podcast is like
right,
once you sit down and you're just talking with someone
Right.
and like we so often I feel like we take into consideration like roles, titles, or this person's done
Yeah.
this, and we put these images in our head.
yeah,
But then once you sit down after you talk for past 10 minutes,
right,
you realize it's just another human on the
Yeah.
other side.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's just different things they've accomplished,
Yeah.
which are but
Yeah.
anyone can do that. It's
exactly. It's just what you put your mind to,
Literally.
Like I was listening to the pastor preach this morning, and he said, "Do you want to be the best restaurant owner or the best food maker? Ask yourself, can the governor eat my food? Can the president eat my food? Don't stay where your mates are glorifying you.
Right.
Stay in a place where people
Fear
that-
complacency.
Yes, people that matter, people where kings can say, "Oh, you're doing good." Not where your mates, people you are par with. Not when your friend tells you, "Oh, you're doing good." Don't feel good about it. But when the president tells you you're doing good, that's telling you that you're above.
You're setting a standard.
You understand what I mean? So
Yeah.
always aim higher than where you are.
Because
And
Try-
don't
even
get
if you
caught up
even
in
if
the
you fall
small
short,
Right.
you're gonna be higher than
Right.
you.
So refine your skills, whatever you're doing, be the best at it. Like what you guys are doing, do it so good that when they talk about podcasts, when they talk about anybody doing this kind of business, you stand out because of the content you produce and because of how you produce it and the skill you put into it.
And do you think it's as much
Yes.
of like when we say those things like you think
Right.
of like okay so like there's vlogging and there's cameras and there's social media it's
Right.
like is the best content I honestly think is just being you like you're gonna
Right.
get I'm not here to put on a show that's gonna be different you're you're just now being able to live in the moment in the thing that I'm living in as well
Right.
and I think that is the creative now sure you can be creative in which now how you produce that content
Right.
like how you put it out
Right.
but I think when it comes down to it people want to see you
Exactly.
just be yourself
Mm-hmm.
I've already so
Cool. I wanted to ask, do you see yourself going back to Nigeria and living there?
I want to
again,
go
or-
there now
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
have to
Oh,
we
yeah.
have to go
Oh
there
yeah, as a matter of fact, by next year I'm planning on going.
You're going or moving back?
No. I can't move back. I want to start a family again, but that's where I go and get my inspiration from.
right just to go back and feel
Yeah,
that power
yeah.
too.
And I
That's-
also want to make some impact in some people's life over there in the country. So I may have to I'm still thinking about it. Maybe through this film business or something, structure some kind of exchange. That will also make
That would be
impact on
awesome.
people's life over there. Because I believe in the young generation. I believe that there's a lot of potentials out there.
I think
that
there's
can.
empowering your youth is so great.
Oh yes.
I think that's why we need to have more people that come out there to empower your youth and
Yeah.
like realizing that you can have different perspectives. And I think sometimes
Do the youth in Nigeria right now have the means of accessing technology where they
Oh
could,
yeah.
where they could hear
There's internet
or,
even in the
or
most
be a
remote
part of their
village.
experience?
Yeah, in
That's
Nigeria.
awesome.
Internet is everywhere. It's a global village, brother man.
Wow.
So as a matter of fact, you'll be shocked that most Nigerians consume more foreign content than you do over here.
do people.
I believe that
I would
actually.
believe that. Why is that? That we understand culture with other worlds? Is it because it's blocked in our areas, or do you just not search that? Or
I think we're oversaturated here.
I think so, and also because they're hungry. They
right,
want
it's two different perspectives. You're living two different lives.
They want the wow thing, the new thing. What's happening in America? What's making them so special? So they're consuming a lot of content.
Yeah.
Like when I was in Nigeria, I knew so much about America. I knew everything about your politics. I'm always watching.
Do
CNN,
people
I'm
laugh
always-
at us sometimes with that silly stuff?
Yes,
They're
of
like,
course.
So,
Is
like,
America
That's why I
really
asked you
people
whether
so
the
funny?
perception
You'll be
was
shocked
because
that-
if you
yeah.
go to a lot of first world cultures
Right.
outside of the U.S. and Eastern Europe and stuff, like they think
Right.
Americans are idiots. they're fat, they're entitled.
They just feel you guys are lazy.
Yes.
You don't know the opportunities you have.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
you'd be shocked, a young boy in Nigeria knows so much about America and the politics in America than an American here. Like when they see this whole Trump saga and everything going on, they feel
And
like,
people just don't understand how we've been able to become so lazy so quickly because we are so young as a nation.
well, it's not your fault.
Right.
It's not your fault.
Right.
It's like a boy who is born into wealth.
Right.
He's never been hungry for one day. You wouldn't understand that you don't even feel like you're in wealth. You're
Right.
just living your
You're
life.
right. Yeah.
But until you become hungry, that's when so there could be wealth. There could be,
I think it's so important to
it changes your perception about life and so many things. Like you guys feel, oh, we're living our lives. We're Americans.
How do we
Right.
consume that diversity, or how would you say, like, what's the way to show that, right? Like someone that's growing up and living in maybe a privileged house, meaning that there's no stresses or worries about any financials or
Right.
roofs over their head or any of the normal necessities, right? If you grow up in that environment and you never have to worry about that, when do you ever see that diverse, like those people just would never realize that there's anything harder than that. Or live that moment and how they would react. So, like,
Right.
it's like, how do we
Right.
get that diverse? We need to
It's through
spread that out.
exchanges like this, like
Talking,
when
film,
I start raising my
film.
family, my children will be going to Nigeria every year.
Yeah.
I want them to see how people live there. I want them to appreciate it. As a matter of fact, if I have a kid here and you don't obey my rules, I'll send you back to Nigeria for at least 1 year. And I'll make sure you have no access to anything luxury.
Right.
So
Right
you
back to
appreciate what you're having.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of parents. That's how Nigerians over here discipline their kids. They send them back to Africa and make you go through some hardship. By the time you've been through that for 1 year, you'll be running, Mom, please, I'll be the best child you'll ever have. Because man, you don't appreciate what you have until you lose it.
Truly.
And that's what's happening to America. And that's why you see countries like China trying to catch up. And they are catching up so fast, and even faster than Americans, because Americans have been living in this wealth and living in this largesse that they don't appreciate that you have to consolidate it, you have to package it in such a way that it stays there for a long time. But if you look at Chinese economy and how they are growing it,
They're
you will
playing
know
a
that these
chess
people
game.
are hungry.
Yeah.
They're appreciating whatever they have. If is it science, is it technology, they become the best in it. They want to. That's why you see this, all this hacking and all these things going on. They want to be like you guys. You know, they want to have what you have, but because you have it so much, you don't appreciate it. And that's why when look at them, go to Chinese economy, go to their car industry, go to they're developing so fast and they're generating a lot of wealth more than the
And it
American.
helps too that their government controls 100% of who's
Yeah,
does and goes where. But you're totally right. It's like it's that chess game of they understand the importance of long-term economic dominance, and that by investing in today and not being maybe the most powerful up front today, I can be tomorrow.
And that's where I think it's like that saying of like, the second you think it's not going to get bad, is the time when it's going to fall. And I think that's where America is. Right? It's in that point of where it's like, it's so good and you think there's not going to be anything bad that comes, and then all of a sudden when something does,
That's a good lesson too as a business owner. You can never become complacent.
yeah. Look at America used to be the superpower of those days. I tell you, America is living in past glory. Go to all African countries. Nobody's talking about America anymore. Even the Chinese government have learned to invest in all these African
my gosh,
countries.
they have so much. They're building a whole railway. They're building a whole network, economic system.
And
it's a silk belt to
America
Africa.
has not
from
even
China.
seen it yet. They are not catched up with all these things. They are taking over the world gradually.
They are.
And I think that's what I would love to do,
It's
international
intense.
business. Like I think that's gonna be, because there's so many better opportunities out there. That, and even just situations like when you say, once you see that, like I'm a person where it's like, I think I care so much about people, and then seeing like, okay, wow, if I were to actually just put a little bit of my time in here, you could make a large impactful change.
Like
and you see, there's so much market in those African countries. And they are
nothing is
consumers.
tapped in,
Yes.
basically.
They're consuming any good product you put in there before. Oh my, don't worry, we'll do some stuff together. I've been seeing a whole lot of stuff that if you take it back home in Africa, it'll make very good markets. So, and I'm as time goes on, I want to cash in on.
Is there? How is the job opportunities for people to stay economically afloat and doing that? Is
that just something how hard you seek for it? But then again, in Nigeria, it's like, okay, you live in two different things, right? So if you're on a lower caliber, you have only certain jobs that you're probably gonna be allowed to get.
Right. Well,
or not necessarily.
There's diversity too. You can try anything, but the structure, it's not that. You don't have the kind of opportunities you have here. Like here, you can do 2-3 jobs, but those kind of job opportunities are not there in Nigeria. If you get one job, you hold it strongly because you might not have another one for a long time. So the dynamics are so different. Over here, there's a structure where you can build yourself, but over there, you have a job you don't even know you might lose it tomorrow, and if you lose it, there's no other way you can get another one. So it's so different. And here you can actually say, in the next 5 years, if I continue doing this, I can build myself. You can actually structure yourself out. Over there, it's not like that. It's the dynamics are so different. Because you might have the capacity, but you don't have the structure. You can't even plan through 5 years and remain within the spectrum. A lot of things. Maybe government will come in. Maybe and it's so difficult. You see somebody who is so well educated, he doesn't have a job because the system and the structure does not allow him or offer him those opportunities for him to express his degree and all of that.
What type of government do you guys have there? Is it?
It's a presidential system of government.
Yeah.
But
is the same person been the president for a long time?
Not really. There's still democracy there, but it's not like it's practiced here. It's a democracy where they could rig the election and get away with it.
And then, do they just have the current governments have no intentions of investing in trying to bring more
resources?
The
man at the helm of affairs right now, I'm sorry to say, a lot of Nigerians are not impressed with him. He's not even educated enough to know what to do.
How did he get there? Media?
Politics is the rigging of elections and all that.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Nigerians. I gotta be honest. But
truly.
Yeah,
Do you have a lot of Nigerian friends here in the U.S.? Have you found a good community of
Well,
Nigerians?
there are, but I like to create my own path.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in Nigeria all my life.
You're like, yeah, you want to meet other people. You're like, fuck it.
I want to.
What do you think when you met, like, seeing our... That's crazy. I don't know, what would you say is your largest inspiration? Like, every day, like, what makes you keep going?
God. Faith is very fundamental in everything you do, because what is your core? Where is your strength coming from? You got to fall back on something at the end of the day. Like when everything crashes, like what I told you earlier. Until believing, that's all you got.
Yeah.
That's when you. That's when you.
I've
really
been putting
appreciate to
everything in
believe.
really, because when you start to realize, like, I believe heavily in my faith, and I just give everything I put everything into God's hand, and that kind of leads me the way to go.
Right. It forms a very fundamental core for you, because if you really understand how God works and how the Bible has been structured, and if you really read and understand it, everything about life is in it, and it helps you propel a path for yourself. It helps you, and if you walk in tangent with your faith, you just see yourself growing and becoming better. Because challenges of life, the mind is built in such a way that if you don't have something that guards it or that protects your emotions and all that, that's why you see people committing suicide and doing all kind of crazy stuff, because they don't have that kind of core or something to fall back on that could hold them up when their
Then
mind
when it gets so bad,
Yes.
when you think there's not another day,
Exactly.
when there's no good,
But
nothing in sight,
yes,
you fall on that, and
Yeah.
then when you can't have something to fall on,
exactly.
Well,
Just believing
it's
that
that
God got
I
you.
get what you're saying. It's that idea of like when you're like, I'm alone, I have nothing else. Well, not really. People who I guess have a really strong faith,
Right.
they're never alone because they'll always have that.
Yes.
Right.
They always have that.
I would think if you
That's
didn't have a
interesting.
faith, I think it'd be very
I
hard.
think this
If
is the
you're
first time
lonely,
I've understood that concept of
Right.
like I
faith.
really don't know how you would get through without faith.
I'm telling you, I've been through certain
Maybe
situations.
your faith can be in
this is
certain
really
things.
interesting because I never do this. I don't like when I'm thinking about when
I
I
had
got
a
into my
situation-
darkest points.
I had a situation at work recently
Yeah.
that it was so bad, like police was going to get involved and everything. I
Wow.
didn't know my way out of it. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know how to get through it. Like
Yeah.
everywhere looked so dark. You're in a country where nobody is out there for you to help you through any.
Yeah.
So what do? I had to go back to the only faith I have. I started praying. I started calling on God. I said, God. I said, bringing out examples in the Bible, telling God, you did this, you did that, you did this in the Bible, you did this in the Bible. And even with my experiences with you in life, you've done this for me, you've done that for me. So I believe you can do this also for me.
Right.
And that was the only uplifting I have. And guess what? Just as much as I believed in it, even with all the fear, with all the emotions, anxiety that was trying to shake me out of my faith or my core, but because my believing was getting
you doubled
stronger the
down.
more I try to communicate with God and everything,
All of a
it
sudden
shifts your perception from the problem to the faith. So the more you look at the faith and God, because you're not looking at your fear and anxieties and all that, at some point you start believing that they don't exist and they're not there. And the more you believe strongly on that, it begins to happen. That's how it is with business. The more you begin to believe that this thing I am doing, I'm going to succeed in it. I'm going to, get past the level I am. I'm going to get better. Before you know, it starts happening. Because
Right.
it's crazy. I would say I would not be here. I honestly, every area of my life where I ever felt like it's going to go down, I've then gone back to my faith. And I would say when I keep saying I'm shocked Like I say often now, like I'm shocked to see what, like kind of where I've come now and where everything's gone. But when you think about it, it's that bottom line and not giving up on that faith and making that faith more real. That's why I keep getting blessed. I think every time, you know, that's how what I really relate to. You know, because I think at my hardest problem, my hardest width, everything that seems impossible, the things that are on my mind the most, I just pray. Like even I'm thinking like even times when like things with my family, like my car, my tire, when it was on treads and it should have somehow I could still drive 10 miles. Like it's just those things and like when you believe and you're right. All of a sudden that fear goes away. It's more of just knowing that that bigger thing in which you believe in is there for more you over than anything else.
Absolutely. You got it that right. That's just the way it is.
Where do you see your next 10 years of your life? What needs to still happen?
Well,
what haven't you done yet that you have to achieve? You've lived many lives.
I set up goals for myself, but I believe more in the process and in the consistency of it. That's where I ask God to keep me, that I don't lose focus on where I'm going. I don't want to say, oh, in the next 10 years, this is what I want to do. This is, because life is filled with ups and downs, but that does not mean I don't have a plan. You know what I mean? But I believe more in the process. I believe taking it one step at a time, setting up the little milestones for myself. Achieve this first, get over it, set up a new goal, achieve it. You know where you're going to, but believe more in the process and in what you're doing now.
Live more in the moment.
Exactly. Get through it, take it one step at a time, become better at it, learn from the experiences. And as you're doing that, you just see yourself moving up. But of course, you got a target. You set up that high goal, but don't let that high goal
be the end.
Yeah, because sometimes if you don't get up to that high goal as you expected, if you're not careful, you just lose hope and faith in all the little processes, and because it's actually the little processes that takes you to the high goal. It's your consistency and your diligence in the little process, like the experiences you guys are having now. As you learn from it, as you become better at it,
100%.
That's
even last night, like today,
Yeah.
Last night I didn't prep my gear right, and I wasn't ready.
Right.
But I knew that doing it last night and screwing up was gonna help make today way better.
Exactly. That's it. That's just it. You just have to. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes along the way.
And I actually prefer making mistakes than my successes.
Right.
I feel uncomfortable in successes.
Right.
It's where it makes you feel most body.
I feel really comfortable when I'm not successful.
I envy you guys because sometimes I wish I'm 24 again. So now is when you can make all your mistakes and get away with it.
Yeah.
So now is your time to really catch up with those things that your heart is longing to do,
Right, because like let's say even if you go and make this ambition and you make this goal of like, and it doesn't even go the way you planned, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's say you reach out for this thing, just because just because you took that opportunity or that try at it, in the long run, even if it ends up not being good in the moment, you're gonna learn from that in the long run.
For instance, when I was younger, I used to do a whole lot of stuff. There was a time I went into the hotel industry. I just went there for fun, for the fun of it. I said, I want to know what really this hotel management people and what they do. So, I got into this hotel consulting firm and I started working with them. It was a lot of fun. I knew I wasn't going to be there for long because
but you're like, you were intellectually curious.
I developed some kind of network there with certain people. That up till today, I still have that network.
Wow.
At least I know how the hotel system runs. I can even go there and post like I'm a hotel consultant and you believe me because I have the experience.
Right.
So no knowledge is lost. So that's why when you're young, put yourself out. Have fun. Just enjoy yourself doing all those things that, your spirit man wants you to do because God is using all that to build you and make you whole because of where you're going to, because you need all that experience to make you a complete person.
Right.
Like I'm glad I studied law. I'm glad, because like for instance, if you bring a business agreement to me now, I know what.
You're like, you got your ass covered.
I know what to look out for.
I would say.
I know when you want to screw me up. I can read it and
Right.
understand it. Many people might read it and not understand it.
No, yeah, they might not understand the language or the
Yeah.
interpretive, because
Yeah.
my favorite thing, because right now I'm going through insurance school, I'm trying to get licensed in the state of Illinois, it's understanding what they deem the definition of that verbiage as,
Right.
and then understanding how we interpret that definition in the
Right.
context of many scenarios. And I love that. For me, the nitpickiness of that
Right.
is so fun.
Because that could screw you up. If you
It so can. That's how, like, because lawyers are so consciously aware
Right.
of the proper ways to phrase
Right.
and to write clauses.
And when you don't, and one thing about knowing that is, even if you don't understand it, you can say, you know what, I need to research on this word and
Right.
or ask questions about it.
Yeah.
But a layman would not want to do that because he doesn't even understand what
Yeah, he
he's
doesn't
reading.
care.
Yeah.
It's
So
so interesting.
that's why this is the time to soak up all kind of knowledge you need. Because when you start getting older, you might not have all that opportunity again. At that point, you should start consolidating on the knowledge you built, while you were young. And of course, there are so many risks you can't take anymore. It has to be calculated risk because you got family now to take care of and all that. So everything is a bit more structured.
Yeah, that's why too. I'm like,
Right.
I'm being very, very conscious right now of not taking on too much in my personal life,
Right.
because I know that, like, right now, like, Patrick Bet-David is a guy I follow heavily. He's an entrepreneur and he's an immigrant from I forget. I believe it's Israel. I believe, or somewhere like that. But he so wholeheartedly, like, what were we just talking about? This concept of
Relationship with, you're in your personal life, you choose to not focus. What I was relating this to was like, maybe you'll grab it from this, but like in relationships, when I think of like even just someone having like a girlfriend or a spouse or whatever that's gonna be, right? It's like, it's like thinking if that person's not there building, that relationship needs to be very specific and helping you in that nature right now. Otherwise, I think you don't need that relationship.
Yes.
And until you're willing to let that go and realize, until I let this, yes, you may care about that person, and that's fine. You still care about that person. That's great. But you got to realize that at the end of it, you have to live for yourself.
Yeah.
And you
that's
have.
why in this time and age, it's
so
good
important
to be in love and all that.
Like if I want a
this
relationship,
love, there's so many love out there.
right?
Yes.
But you got to choose the love
that you want.
that will help you
Yes.
with who you are, that
Yes.
agrees
And
with your
where you're
personality.
going.
And
Yes.
at that time, right?
Yes.
So like, see, and that's
And
the
that
thing
is
you have
helping you
different-
go to where you're going.
Right.
But
If that love is not doing all that for your love, dude, that's not the kind of love you need at that point.
right, there might be portions of it that is the right love you need, but it's
Right.
not entirely.
Yes.
It's not the whole.
And do you think it's bad that people
it has
sell
to
to?
work hand in glove
Yes.
with who you are. It's complementary. Love should be complementary. If it's not, then it's not really.
Patrick Bet-David, what I was getting at with that story is when he was 22, he told himself, I'm done with the outside world. I'm going to, every second of my life, I'm going to be working towards one of my goals I want, doing what I want. And if I'm not there, I'm reading or I'm with family. And when he put those blinders on, he said he looked up, right? He woke up, he was 27, and he finally had built all this stuff for himself because he just knew that if I decide today to focus in, I can have all these things that everyone else around me wants now.
Right, or it's thinking like even
And
when
like
you're
I'm
watching
trying
TV,
to get myself in that.
right? Like
mindset.
when you're watching TV, what is on your TV?
Right.
Is it a show in which someone just like spending that time in those different activities? You could just switch up even incrementally in your life, and you'll see, wow, this pays off in the long run.
From a neurological level too, talking about
So-
love, the brain isn't done developing the prefrontal cortex where emotional intelligence occurs until well after 28, 29, 30.
Sure.
So if that's a case scenario,
I think
while
you
you're
just get
young,
started when you're
love
30.
is great because you might be able to learn all these things,
Right.
but your brain's not even at a point yet where it can discern everything it wants to discern.
Right.
And I think people just, especially maybe in our society, you just misuse words and what those meanings and
Truly.
you blow the context out of what that is. Like words are strong, and you forget that everyone does. Like I'm a fool for this too. you get caught up in the moment. It's like, well, even love or like hate, right? Those are strong words, and what does that mean? And then you start misguiding people, and now people are getting emotional in their head because they're so caught up in that. And that's why I think everyone just needs to really just focus on yourself for a long period of time, because if you don't have yourself figured out, there's no way in hell now you can bring someone else in your life.
Yeah, true.
So
And that's why we also need some level of faith in God in us, who helps structures us. Because what God does in you is that He helps you build yourself. Because God is about building and impacting. So as you're building yourself, you are impacting. Because whatever He's giving you, He's not giving it to you for you alone. He's giving you to spread it out. So if you do that early in age, you see yourself making impact earlier in life. You see yourself building yourself early enough to start impacting life even at 21. So you might be 21, but you have the mindset of a 28 or 29 or 30 because you matured so quickly,
right.
because you structured yourself right early. But it takes a lot of people so much time and age to figure that out.
To even realize that you need to structure.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, I think
that's where I
and
miss
sometimes it's way easier.
Because I didn't know all this growing up. If I did, I would have been a lot more better person than I was.
You're
you
not
think
even
it's
joking
easier?
me. I was talking to an 18-year-old last night who blows me out of the water when it comes to structuring their life, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
But what does it do? It's driving me. I'm like, I cannot be 21 years old and not at least be at the same level. And like the nice thing is like a lot of our habits did correlate, and I'm like, that's a positive habit you need. But it's a constant reminder that I'm aging every day.
Right.
There's some young buck who's gonna be just as good, just as strong every day. So
and
what
that's
do you,
where I think
you
you gotta realize, like, you're not gonna be the best ever. You can't think like that. You have to think when we say thinking of each other as equal, that's thinking of everyone's equal at every moment, right? Because they could be talking about someone may be important in a whole different another aspect, and that's where I think everyone's equal, and you might be good in a certain world, and that's where we're talking about those bigger people. Like look, you think of Gary Vaynerchuk and those different influences in their life, but when you come down to it, bottom line, they're just people. Right? It's not like they're anything superior to you.
Right.
It's just someone that's experienced more and they're willing to share it. So now get your lazy ass up and work, But I think it's easier to go like in the route of like sometimes it's easier not to believe in your faith because that may be challenging you and that may make you very uncomfortable. So instead you're gonna go with the route of opposing that faith because it's easier right now in the moment.
Right.
But I think like when I think of like my faith, it's where God has an unwaveringly love, right? Well, He'll always be willing to forgive and let you in certain instances, right? But He'll always let you back in if you truly had those good-hearted intentions.
Right.
And so then it's sometimes easier in the moment to do that. But I think just realizing like that uncomfortable, that time, like I keep saying, like, when you're uncomfortable in a time where it's easier to go another way, go the opposite way that's harder, because that's what's going to allow you to mature. And learn the most.
Yeah, there's no one way to win.
Truly.
What would you say? What are we coming up on?
Yeah, we're coming up well over 2 hours now.
Oh,
here,
wow.
So before we get going though, like I think, what advice could you give for someone that's maybe around 18 to 30? Give them inspirational advice. One thing.
No, if someone young is listening to this, maybe even someone who's in Nigeria who doesn't maybe know what they want yet, but they know they want something for themselves, right? They have that drive like you're talking about. What can you give them from your life or your experiences, one piece of wisdom that they need?
Well, it's not much, but the core thing is believing. Find out who you are. What is your call? Why am I in this world? What am I made for? What am I supposed to do with my life? Let that be your life search. Because when you find it, every other thing falls into place. So work hard on yourself. Beat yourself so hard till you beat out who you are. Because when you beat out who you are, that helps you in your belief and in your structure. And because when you believe that I'm supposed to be a journalist, it helps you to begin to research on journalism and be the best journalist you can be. But if you don't know who you are, you see yourself doing so many things that is not relevant to where you're going. So, but first of all, you got to search yourself, believe in yourself, and be the best. Hone your skills, whatever you're doing, put your heart to it, do it like your life depends on it. Because when you're burning yourself in that furnace of life, when you're killing that body, when you're putting in that time, when you're putting in that energy, everything you got into that thing you believe in, I don't care what it is, it must come out like gold. It must shine at some point. Because what you have as your skill, when you hone it, when you prepare it, when you put it in that furnace, when you burn it, that's what attracts people. Because one thing about life is that people want to look at something that they don't have, something that shines, something that is glorious, something, nobody really wants to identify with your suffering. People wants to see that glit. It's the glit that attracts them. But how do you get to the glit? It's by,
going through the glass.
exactly,
Going through
going
the
through the
dirt.
fire,
Yeah.
So believing in yourself, honing your skills, I tell everybody I see, that's what takes you to your success land. And also be disciplined enough and also be honest. Because if you're not honest, what happens is if you build your
Honesty.
skill on deceit, people cannot believe in you. And people don't want to be deceived.
And at the end of the day, people see right through it.
Exactly. They see, you might not know, they see through it.
And
But
it's easier.
your helpers, those investors, invest on your honesty and in your skill. They don't want to, because a lot of young people do businesses and
They want to do it because I think they want the end goal of
they're
monetary
looking at-
success.
exactly.
They're thinking that's the American dream is to get that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house.
Right. But if you put your mind on that, you're gonna miss it. Because you start
Like,
doing
that's
taking you start making up a lot of stories that you don't have. Be honest. If you don't know it, I don't know it. Teach me. If you don't have it, I don't have it. Can we walk without me having it? Can we? Don't build ego or images or start small. Do whatever you can. Just stay humble. God locates those kind of people and sends true investors to you that will help you with your dream. And whatever you're doing, like in this time and age, bring it out, let people know, talk about it, because the Bible says, get a vision, write it, make it plain, so that when people see it, they can run with it. We have internet these days, we have social media, we have everything that can help us sell our skills. So the more you put it out there, people are looking at it like what you guys are doing. Someday you might be shocked. Somebody might offer you your podcast. Do you mind selling it to me for $1.5 billion?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You really never know.
But you never know,
And the cool thing is like it's like we're doing this because we love it. You
Right.
don't do it because you're trying to achieve an end goal.
Right.
Like,
Do what you love.
And I think
Yeah.
just with that, like
Yeah,
you said,
that's awesome.
if you can believe and make that your life goal, realize that's not something that has to be right now in the moment.
Right.
Believing in yourself and realizing these things is a life journey.
Right.
Till the
True.
day you die.
Right.
And I think without that, Neville, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being on. Can you?
Right.
I want to give you an opportunity to plug anything you want. Maybe Instagram, Facebook. Where can people find you? Could they find your works?
Yeah, well, I've been hiding away from all that stuff right now, but I'm still on Instagram casually,
Yeah.
But I know that a time is coming when I'm really gonna plug into
Okay.
all that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because right now I'm just,
getting going.
underneath the radar.
Sure. Where can people
trying to-
find you?
I'm on Instagram.
What's your name?
Neville.
At Noble Neville.
Yes.
Okay.
And without further ado, that is the end of episode 21 of a Humanistic Perspective podcast. Check us out on all your major streaming platforms. We post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And without further ado, our family, just believe and it will be. Peace.
Bye. Have a good day, folks.
Yeah.